Since time immemorial, or 2003 to be exact, the changing of the seasons has been marked by the return of that most divisive of all coffee confections, the pumpkin spice latte. And this year, either as a reward for putting up with everything that 2021 hath wrought, or as a mercy to speed the clock and through pure capitalist will force the seasons to advance prematurely, Starbucks has seen fit to bring back that fabled brew early. Yes, the pumpkin spice latte is back, and probably you either hate it or you love it. Why do you either of those things? Why are you so worked up about a coffee drink from a fast food chain? Why? Why would you do that? Personally, it's never really been my go-to order, but I went out the other day and I grabbed one. You know, it's like research. And I definitely didn't hate it, but I thought I could make it better. Also, I thought I could probably add alcohol to it. Also, Mr. Black wanted me to tell you about their second annual Global Coffee Cocktail Challenge, how you could enter, what fantastic prizes you'd be eligible to win, and since they were so kind as to sponsor this episode, I will tell you all of those things after I make my very own Mr. Black Pumpkin Spice Cocktail. So I hope I'm not crushing your dreams when I tell you that pumpkins do not produce spices, or really even very strong flavors, and that the main ingredient in a pumpkin spice latte is sugar, like a surprising amount of sugar. Starbucks launched the PSL, as it is known, back in 2003, and it took off like hotcakes, which frankly underperform against the pumpkin spice lattes as a consumer product, and really who cares about hotcakes? The next thing you know, pretty much every other coffee chain had to get in on the action with their own version, and it became a kind of phenomenon, and maybe the marketing for it skewed a little bit towards women, and then misogynists decided to publicly hate it, and performative masculinity made the whole thing just weirdly divisive, and hopefully we can just get past that stupid shit as a species and let people enjoy sugaring up their coffee any damn way they like, okay? I've got a show to do here, and I don't have time to deal with whatever hang-ups some of you have about the coffee drink. So what I need to say right now is that pumpkin spice is really a kind of flavor that we made up to season our pumpkin pies with. And pumpkin pie isn't even made with pumpkin, it's made with butternut squash. But nobody wants to drink a squash-seasoned latte. Actually, back in 2003, when they first launched the drink, it contained literally zero pumpkin at all. Food blogger made a kerfluffle about it. I don't think I used kerfluffle right there, but I'm going to stick with it. A food blogger made a real hubbub about it, by golly, and then Starbucks yielded and put some real pumpkin in there. But a funny thing about that, I set out to make my own homemade pumpkin spice syrup using dried ginger, cinnamon, vanilla, and cloves, the pumpkin spices. I had a couple of commercially available ones to compare against, plus the Starbucks PSL. And my first couple of goes at getting the syrup right, I decided to skip the pumpkin puree. I had convinced myself that it was just functionally useless, there was no need for it. But my syrup was terrible. Oh no, it wasn't actually terrible, it just didn't taste like pumpkin spice lattes at all. Once I started reworking it with some real pumpkin puree, the recipe improved dramatically, and my formulations kept winding up with more and more puree. I looked at other online recipes for this. Most of them called for like a couple of tablespoons of puree at most. I wound up blowing straight past that, and here is my pumpkin spice syrup. It's settled just a little bit. You can actually see the puree. It's sitting at the bottom there. Just shake it up. You just shake a little bit. You shake it with a little bottle. Shake your wee-wee. So the recipe that I put into here calls for a full can of organic pumpkin puree. So that's 430 grams of pumpkin puree on my scale. I combined that with 860 milliliters of water, so a 2-to-1 ratio by weight, and then I added another 860 grams of Demerara sugar. A lot of the online recipes called for using some white sugar and some brown sugar in like different proportions. I skipped the whole thing and just went with Demerara. Has the molasses that it's the same idea. Anyway, 860 grams of Demerara sugar. I then added 4 teaspoons of dried ginger root, 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and 7 or 8 cloves. And I made a mental note that I would figure out the weights of those measurements before I shot this, but I forgot to. So I'm going to put them up on screen in the future when I figure out the weights after I shoot this. All right, Ted. By the way, last time I used cloves in a recipe, I had a ton of comments asking, cloves of what? I mean, cloves, they're just cloves. Anyway, I heated up the whole thing in a pot until the sugar dissolved, and then I let it stay hot, not quite simmering, for maybe 10 minutes, just to really let the spices steep. And I ran it all through a fine filter. I used a nut milk bag and I bottled it. I really liked the results. I tested this in hot coffee against commercial versions of the syrup, namely Talani, and Moline? The French one and the Italian one. There's like Talani and Moline. Those are the two like commercial syrups that make all the different flavored syrups. France, Italy, both you guys. You're getting pronounced. I'm sorry. So anyway, I tested that in hot coffee against the commercial versions of the syrup, and I found mine tasted better. It tasted more pumpkin-y than those commercial versions. But The thing about my version of this is that that commercial syrup might be more what you've got in mind if you're trying to replicate the taste of a Starbucks PSL. So I came up with something that I think is an answer to that flavor profile that tastes way better to me, way more natural, way more like what a pumpkin of my mind, pumpkin pie should taste like, right? If you're looking for something closer to the Starbucks style recipe, I would increase the sugar so that your puree plus water are an equal measure to your sugar. My recipe has a lot less because in my recipe, it's just the water that's an equal measure to the sugar. So I would increase your sugar by, I think it's 460 grams. For the spices, I would cut the ginger in half. I'd drop your ginger by a lot, but I would triple or even quadruple the vanilla. The commercially available pumpkin spice syrups I've managed to test, and also the Starbucks one, just tremendous amounts of vanilla flavor in them, at least as far as I'm able to detect. I would say that vanilla is probably the dominant flavors in those things. Anyway, that's the story of my pumpkin spice syrup, and this definitely is something that you would want to keep in the fridge. It's got real food parts in it, and it does not have a 2-to-1 ratio of sugar. I don't expect this to last very long at all. So I would say make it for like on a Friday and enjoy it for 2 breakfasts in a row with your pumpkin spice lattes or something like that, and then get rid of it by Monday. Probably something like that. I mean, it probably lasts a week in the fridge, maybe a week and a half or 2, but this is not something that you're going to keep around indefinitely. You just can't. All right, and now to make a pumpkin spice cocktail, okay? So once you've got this pumpkin spice syrup, this drink is incredibly simple because the syrup is the complex part of this whole thing, really. So all I need is a shaker, and in the shaker, I want 1 part Mr. Black, 2 ounces, using the glass jigger, which, I don't know. I still haven't decided how I feel about it. It definitely looks cool in close-ups. I don't know how I actually, it's an issue of practicality. I mean, it's highly breakable. So, and I only have 1. 1 part Mr. Black, so I went 2 ounces on it because I'm kind of overshooting it. And now I'm going to do the same, 1 part pumpkin spice syrup, another 2 ounces. I think I originally planned to do this as an 1.5 ounce build, and then I second-guessed myself here on camera, and so we're just going with a 2 ounce build. That's equal parts syrup to our liqueur. Mr. Black is, of course, basically unsweetened, right? This syrup is actually less than 1-to-1 sugar, so we're not really adding as much sweetness as you might think by going equal parts syrup to coffee liqueur here. We're really just adding pumpkinness. Pumpkinness. And that's it. That's kind of the whole drink, guys. I'm going to shake that with some ice. The other thing, too, is, I mean, I'm talking about, like, how much syrup there is in here. There is so much sugar in a pumpkin spice latte. I think a grande, which is, like, on the small, like, the regular size, has, like, 50 grams of sugar in it. That's out of control. I swear, this, as much syrup, which is, of course, a lower sugar syrup, I think we're coming in way under an actual pumpkin spice latte, like way under. And it's a treat. It's okay. I'll just strain it straight in there. Boom, pumpkin spice. That's exactly really what I wanted to see. I like something with straighter sides or whatever. Just make sure it's the right size. You want a wash line that's going to give you that much space. I think if you're going to make a pumpkin spice cocktail, you should go all the way with it. You should do the full-blown Starbucks treatment. And I'm going to top it up with some fresh whipped cream. I have some heavy cream here, and I'm going to pour some of this heavy cream into my whipper, my ISI whipper. We'll put a pinned comment to this, I guess, down below if you wanted to pick one up. I think they're a really handy thing to have in the bar. Or just also if you like to make like waffles and stuff on the weekend. I'm gonna put like a bar spoon in. I mean, I really do just guesstimate on these kinds of figures. So I'll like put in like a cup maybe of whipped cream and then like 2 bar spoons of sugar. You'd be surprised how little sugar you need to make whipped cream be pretty sweet. And then not quite a bar spoon of vanilla. We will get a little extra vanilla in here this one. Just some heavy cream, a little sugar, a touch of vanilla extract, and some nitrous oxide. There we go. We have whipped cream now. Do something pretty with it. Something like that. I'm not a whipped cream artist. I want to dust that with some stuff. You could dust that up with some cinnamon or some shaved chocolate. Wouldn't be bad if you want to go that route. What I have here is same thing, the blend of pumpkin spices, and sugar. Way more sugar than pumpkin spices, to kind of make like a cinnamon, like a pumpkin spice sugar kind of thing. And there you go. That goes right on there. That's really similar to what they would use at a coffee house, in fact, like Starbucks. And there we have the pumpkin spice cocktail. Let's see how this came out. But I should say here, by the way, that now that you've got some pumpkin spice syrup, you can skin this cat any way you like. It's great in hot coffee too. And if you wanted to stiffen said coffee up with either Mr. Black or maybe a drop of bourbon, I think you'll be quite pleased by that. Anyway, here it is, the pumpkin spice cocktail. Barely a cocktail, this is a confection. Let's see how this sucker came out. It's awesome. That's fantastic. That's really good. First off, the coffee is very present. It tastes like coffee and a slice of pumpkin pie. That's what it tastes like. Cream, from the heavy cream, you get that with that first sip. I mean, the way that combines, it is delectable. It's a bit outside of your expectation because you're kind of used to these being hot. And by virtue of being cold, it does taste a bit different. But I think that if you try it, you will say, oh yeah, no, that is what that should taste like. Absolutely delicious. I'm very happy with this. Is this low-hanging fruit? Oh yeah, absolutely. Am I, advancing the art? No. This is lowbrow. Delicious, but lowbrow. I mean, as ridiculous as this drink is with whipped cream and the spices and the sugar and everything, it still doesn't really, to me at least, taste like an artificial imitation of a pumpkin flavor. I mean, it tastes, like I said, we're in quality pumpkin pie next to a cold coffee. I mean, it's good. I like it a lot. And the coffee is definitely present. It's really good. So earlier in this episode, I mentioned that Mr. Black, my generous benefactor and sponsor today, is hosting their second annual Global Coffee Cocktail Challenge. And I hope that my attacking of this low-hanging fruit is inspiring to you, and that you can enter that challenge starting on September 29th. You should use the link below for all the details on how to do so. The grand prize includes a Breville dual boiler espresso machine and a lot of other phenomenal stuff. It's a huge package. You should check it out right down there. I think also my friend Steve the bartender is judging this thing. So hi Steve, pleasure doing business with you. Head on over to MrBlack.co to get a bottle right now. Use the code that's on screen and you'll get your bottle, Mr. Black. You can whip up a drink, enter the contest with. And that is the show. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon in another episode of How to Drink. Until then, thank you to Mr. Black, first off. And secondly, hey, whoa. Hey, check out these other episodes of of the How to Drink show. Check them out. All over there. All those other episodes of the How to Drink show. I'm going to have a couple more of these. It is so good. Delicious. Oh, that's one of my favorite episodes. I'll go into there now. I'll see you there.